Hey, greetings, everyone, and welcome to the Steadfast and Loyal program.
You gotta light 'em up before they burn it down. Better dig deep and put 'em in the ground. Blood on their hands, they're hellbound. Save us all. Ooh, they're gonna burn it down. Save us all before they burn it down.
Well, hello, Patriots. Trebo, President, United Patriot Coin. I'm sure a lot of you have heard the story on how a $20 gold coin 100 years ago would buy a gentleman's really nice suit. And at the time we're making this video, gold sitting around $1,912 an ounce would still buy a gentleman's nice suit. But I want to take you back, maybe not that far ago, a time most of you should be able to remember, the year 2000. Gold was $275 an ounce, which means if you had invested $1 million in gold, you would be able to purchase 3,636 ounces of gold. Patriots today at roughly $1,912 an ounce, that would be worth $6.9 million today. Just another way to encourage you to be your own bank. Stay safe, be prepared, Patriots.
Recently, the last monologue was about what's going on in the Middle East, understanding the history behind this thing, Palestine, and what is really at play. And when you really peel the onion back, there's just one simple question that should be asked and answered. Does this modern day state of Israel deserve to exist? Do the Jewish people deserve to exist? And what we know is their natural homeland, their historical homeland, right there where they are. And I thought that it would take a little bit longer, maybe 2 or 3 weeks for, people to all of a sudden say, Israel, don't be harsh, be nice. Well, it didn't even take a week. And what I find so disconcerting is that everyone is talking about the civilian population in Gaza Strip, the women and children in Gaza Strip. But yet we've seen in the past week people going out and celebrating and conducting marches to support what Hamas did. I mean, did anyone say to Hamas, you should not attack women and children? Now, I get it. If you're a soldier, as I was for 22 years, you know what you sign up for. You know that you can be a target. But elderly people sitting in their homes, families sitting in their homes, babies in cribs, they didn't ask, young people at a music festival that was focused on peace and love. And then you get some people paragliding in, and they savagely murdered them. Did anyone say to Hamas that, you should be careful of collateral targeting of women and children? No. No one ever says that. Has anyone ever stopped to say, hey, Hamas, you're a non-state, non-uniform belligerent on the battlefield. And the reason why you as a non-state, non-uniform belligerent on a battlefield do not have Geneva Convention protections is because when they met and formed all of these rules and international law and law of armed conflict and everything, they didn't want people running around in civilian clothes on a battlefield because they didn't want the indiscriminate targeting and inclusion of civilians. But that's exactly what Islamic jihadists do. They don't run around in a declared uniform. Being it Al-Qaeda, Taliban, ISIS, Hamas, Hezbollah. Yeah, okay, they dress up in, all black or whatever. But for the most part, they're non-uniformed. So when was the last time anyone said that it's Hamas's responsibility for the collateral damage and the collateral murders, if you want to call it that, of women and children in Gaza? When has anyone ever condemned Hamas for, occupying civilian buildings or, using their firing positions close to civilian buildings? I mean, think about it. Israel drops leaflets. Israel sends messages, warning messages into Gaza saying, we're about to hit here. I mean, come on. They're saying we're about to hit here. Please evacuate the area. Did Hamas send warning messages into any of those kibbutzes that said, women and children, you should evacuate? Elderly men, elderly women, you should evacuate. But all of a sudden, everyone's upset. The lights are going out in Gaza. Well, maybe the people in Gaza should not have allowed Hamas, whose charter, whose raison d'etre, their reason for existence, is to exterminate, eradicate, eliminate, and erase the Jewish people, the Jewish nation. I mean, that's it. That's why they're alive. An Islamic terrorist organization says that we want all of these people dead and gone, and then they follow up on it and they do it, but yet then all of a sudden the people who are targeted to be exterminated are the ones that are bad? You can't make this stuff up. And so all of these people are out here, siege warfare, that's really what we're talking about when you're talking about cordoning off an area to isolate that area. Now they're saying that's bad. So I guess they want Israel to just run on in there, and then all the sniper attacks, the improvised explosive device attacks, to include those explosive force penetrators that come from Iran, that Iran used against our troops in Iraq, ambushes, the tunnel system, all that. They want to see the Israeli troops probably be slaughtered. And of course, Hamas wants to see civilians be slaughtered, because then they're going to put that up there and everyone's going to say, oh, Israel, you're being too mean, you're being too bad, you're being too nasty. You're not responding in, proportional means. I've never understood what a proportional response is to a terrorist attack. And oh, by the way, now we've got Iran has said that if Israel goes into Gaza, they have no other choice but to get engaged and to join this battle. That's what Iran has said. And of course, Iran can do that now since Joe Biden undermined our energy independence, did not enforce the sanctions against Iran. So now they're flush with cash. I mean, I think they've made, some would say, 150 to 160, maybe 170 billion dollars in oil revenues. And if you haven't been paying attention, Joe Biden just told the socialist dictator Nicolas Maduro of Venezuela, we're going to ease the sanctions on you too, so you can sell us your dirty crude oil. You can't make this stuff up. I mean, we are, this administration, aiding and abetting terrorists. This administration is aiding and abetting our enemies. Instead of just saying we're going to produce, consume, and export our own energy resources. During the Trump administration, they had so broken the back of Iran that Hezbollah was out there having bake sales and lemonade stands to try to raise money, because Iran had been brought to their knees, and we were enforcing those sanctions. That came after Barack Obama sent them, a plane load full of palletized, laundered cash in an unmarked airplane in the middle of the night. So we know the Obama-Biden cabal of Islamic jihadist apologists and appeasers, they're pretty happy. And have we still not heard anything from Barack Obama on what's going on in the Middle East with this attack of Hamas? Tells you everything. So Iran has said that if Israel goes into Gaza, they have no choice but to get engaged. Iran has said that they will unleash Hezbollah as well. Now, here's the thing. Here's an organization that wants to exterminate the Jewish people, wipe them off the map. Here's a country, Iran, that is the number one state sponsor of Islamic terrorism, that is issuing threats to Israel and to us, little Satan, big Satan, as they would call it. And what are we supposed to do? I mean, Jake Sullivan, little boy genius, who is the national security advisor, up there, Iran is not behind this, and we're going to say bad things to you. This Hamas attack killed Americans. This is just another in the long line of Islamic terrorist attacks against the United States of America, many of which were sponsored by Iran. Going all the way back to the Beirut barracks bombing, Khobar Towers. I mean, we can just go on ad nauseum, ad infinitum. But yet we still seek to appease, acquiesce, compromise, negotiate, whatever, with the people that conduct it and the people that support it and the people that still cheer on a savage, brutal, and heinous terrorist attack. See, it's okay to kill the Israeli civilians. You just feel free to do whatever you want because it's their fault. But when Israel seeks to respond, no, Israel, we're going to put all of these chains and shackles on you. I find it interesting that someone like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is now all of a sudden trying to lecture Benjamin Netanyahu and the Israeli people and the Israeli Defense Force on the laws of armed conflict. I guess she didn't think to lecture Hamas on the laws of armed conflict. And let's be very honest here. Let's just deal with facts once again. I mean, as we said, there's never been a state called Palestine. There's never been a people called Palestinians. It's a region. We could call it the Levant. ISIS did. So that debunks this whole thing. I mean, this whole thing about we want to have our own state. Why? Because we see what happens when you have this Gaza Strip, and what is the retribution against Israel? What's the consequences? Terrorist attacks. 2005, let us not forget, in 2005, Ariel Sharon said, okay, international pressure, all you guys, bumping your gums, we got it. We're out. We're leaving Gaza Strip. I remember seeing them drag Jews out of their homes that they had there. I remember those beautiful greenhouses that they had that were eventually destroyed. But seeing them, being carted back across into Israel. That was 2005, 18 years ago. Now, ask yourself, since 2005, 18 years, when they exfiltrated themselves out of Gaza Strip, what has been the response from the Arab Muslims? That's who they are. I mean, there's no separate culture, no separate language or anything. They're Arab Muslims, just the same as you have Arab Israelis, but they're Arab Muslims. So Hamas comes in, takes over in Gaza. The people elected them. You want to talk about democracy? Well, this is what you voted for. And now all of a sudden, everyone wants to handle a designated terrorist organization whose goal is the extermination of a nation state and its people. You can't touch them. You got to leave them alone. The United States during World War II firebombed Dresden. You can say what you want. But people in Germany then accepted Adolf Hitler and Nazi Germany, voted for him as chancellor. We dropped not one, but 2 atomic bombs on Japan, Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Because we saw what happened when we began the direct attack against Japanese mainland territories, like Okinawa. We saw what happened in Iwo Jima. Completely different. I mean, Guadalcanal, Saipan, Tinian, some, Marshall Islands, Solomon, all these other places were not Japanese territory. But all of a sudden, Iwo Jima, Okinawa, these Japanese territory, and they fought like hell. And we saw the casualties that we took. President Truman had a decision to make. You want to lose millions more American troops going onto the mainland island of Japan? Or do you want this to end? The vote was the latter. Now here we have Israel that has done everything possible. If you remember what Golda Meir, the former prime minister of Israel, once said, if the Jewish people lay down their weapons, they'll be exterminated. If the Arab Muslims lay down their weapons, there'll be peace. That's what the Jewish people have always wanted. They wanted peace. They have a right to exist. But when you give back this land, and of course they were told them, you need to get back to Golan Heights, all of these places that they were able to bring under their control because of attacks of Arab Muslims against them. Now they give it back in 2005, and what have they received over the last 18 years? Roses? Lilies? No. So why is it that we continue to tell Israel, we want to shackle you? We want to constrain and restrain the means by which you defend yourself and ensure your existence. Here in the United States of America, we have purposefully and intentionally lost operational control of our border. If the Mexican drug cartel started lobbing missiles into the United States of America, killing innocent American civilians, what would we do? Oops, I kind of remember there was a guy by the name of Pancho Villa who came across the border into the United States and conducted a raid on an American town, killed some Americans there in New Mexico. We sent the army. We sent General John Blackjack Pershing south of the border into Mexico after Pancho Villa. That's what we did. We didn't wait for anyone to say, you must have a certain proportional response. You must be concerned about collateral damage to this event. No. But if you really want to look at what is going on, the Mexican cartels are a terrorist organization as well. Transnational, narco-criminal terrorist organization. And they are lobbing missiles across the United States America border into this country. It's called fentanyl. They're killing Americans left and right. Over 100,000 Americans. Now, Israel just lost about, 1,600? Which proportionately, when you think about 9/11, us losing 3,000 or so in a country of 350 million, their losses in a country of 9 million is proportionally much worse, statistically much worse. But what we have happening now is that we are losing Americans due to the attack of a terrorist organization. And what do we continue to hear people say? Let me tell you what I saw over the weekend in the airport in Charlotte, North Carolina. A woman had a T-shirt, and she was pretty proudly wearing it, I guess. They said, "No one is illegal in a country whose land was stolen." See, that's the mentality of people. That's the kind of mentality that you have over there because these Arab Muslims think that something was stolen from them, which we already historically debunked by looking at the root word of Palestine. So what is happening over in the Middle East is already happening here in the United States of America. We're losing Americans because of the actions of a terrorist organization, the cartels. And furthermore, we're setting ourselves up for the exact same type of terrorist attack, which Iran has already said, if you engage in this fight against us, there will be things that will happen in the United States of America because we got terrorist cells here, because we have allowed so many single military age males to come across this border, to include Chinese single military age males. So it's just a matter of time. And oh, by the way, this past weekend, we've had Iranians, we've had people from Lebanon. Just in this past weekend, just in the week since what happened in Israel, they have been caught, apprehended, detained, whatever you want to call it, special interest individuals trying to come across the border into the United States of America. Now, those are the ones who we caught. You go out to West Texas to the Big Bend Mountains, Brewster County, there's some folks out there we don't catch. The gotaways. Where are they? What are they doing? Oh, the Biden administration just said that we're just going to give free health care and free housing to all of these illegal immigrants that have come to the United States of America. 6 to 7 million. And at the same time, Navy Federal sent out an online solicitation asking people to donate $5 to help to feed members of our military. Fort Hood, Texas. I know they changed the name. It's still Fort Hood, Texas to me. That's where I was stationed. Fort Hood, Texas does not have enough open dining facilities to feed our single soldiers there. Sergeant Major of the Army a couple of years ago told soldiers to just buckle up and go on food stamps. See, that's why Iran is saying what they're saying. That's why Hezbollah and Hamas are doing what they're doing. We can't even feed and take care of our own troops right here. We can't even protect our own border. They're flowing across our border and establishing their terrorist cells all across the United States of America. We're allowing people to march and rally and all of these things to support a designated terrorist organization that murdered innocent civilians, women, children, raped women, babies, everything. But we're telling Israel, this is what we don't want you to do. Nobody tells Hamas and Hezbollah that. Cowards. Yeah, Joe Biden got up there and gave a great speech and everything like that. Who cares about his speeches? I'm thinking about his actions. Because right now, when you tell Venezuela and Nicolas Maduro that we're going to lift the sanctions so you can sell us your dirty crude oil, yet you keep your boot on the neck of the American fossil fuel, oil, natural gas, and coal industry. When you eased up on the sanctions, didn't enforce them with Iran, so now they're flush with cash to do what they want to do. When you have 2 Venezuelan illegal immigrants who just recently attacked a member of the Texas National Guard and threw him into razor wire, that's what people see. To say that this is a weak point. This is the time we go after them. The little Satan, then the big Satan. That's what they say. That's their words. That's how they see us. So I'm not going to put any restraints and constraints on Israel. We shouldn't put any constraints or restraints on ourselves when it comes to our own border and enforcing it and protecting Americans from the drug, the human, and the sex trafficking scourge that we're allowing to happen, from the infiltration of single military age males into this country that we're allowing to happen. I don't know what the progressive socialist left wants. I don't know what Rashida Tlaib wants, or Ilhan Omar, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, the chuckleheads that they have over at MSNBC and some of these other places. I don't understand what they want. Do they want to write their own suicide note and die? It certainly seems that they want to allow the Islamic jihadists to fulfill their charter. The extermination, the eradication, the elimination, the erasing of the Jewish state and the Jewish people. For what? Give people who have never existed as a state? And we see what they have in Gaza. So you want to sanction that? The United Nations allows the Palestinian Authority, the derivative of the Palestinian Liberation Organization, founded by a person who thought it was just fine to kill the Jewish people. Matter of fact, did so at the 1972 Munich Olympics. He was just following, suit of his uncle, the Grand Mufti of Jerusalem. We already talked about that. Who was simpatico, paisano with Adolf Hitler, Arab Muslim troops and the SS organization operating in the Balkans. So when are we going to wise up? When are we going to realize that this is a war against all of us that are not on board with Islamofascism? Enough about this global war on terrorism. That's a really stupid name. What we do have is a war against Islamofascism. And oh, by the way, they're also finding arms and weaponry from Russia and China and North Korea in Gaza. So Israel is not just fighting a terrorist organization. They're fighting the new modern-day axis of evil: China, Russia, Iran, North Korea. And if we're not careful, we are going to be the next target. And at a time such as this, we're not meeting our recruitment and retention levels of our military. At a time such as this, they want to cut 3,000 members of the United States Special Operations Forces, Green Beret. So I could care less what Joe Biden says in a teleprompted speech from the Oval Office. I could care less what he says sitting down with Scott Pelley at 60 Minutes. Who doesn't have the cojones to press him and ask him the hard questions? What I care about is that we're showing weakness right now. And I say this to my Jewish brothers and sisters. I'm with you. Some of your own people are not with you. And somehow you got to deal with that. And there is a certain political party in the United States of America that hates you. You got to deal with that. But in this moment in time, what the Jewish people in the nation, state of Israel need are those who will stand with them and be steadfast and loyal.
Before they burn it down.